Subscribe now by just clicking the above subscribe button.
Well, hi there, everyone. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. This is just wonderful that you all are interested in business and finding out about what goes on in business and how to create a business in a new and exciting way. And for any of you who are watching at home or who are watching this video, I want to thank you very much for watching too. And I hope that you're going to be able to learn some really new, exciting things today. My name, of course, is Justice Chase, and I'm known as the Home Business Whisperer. And the reason that I'm called that is because I teach people how to almost immediately turn their businesses around, how they can actually begin to create self-sufficient businesses, which means that they make money for the person, by changing the structure and also helping people to scale their businesses so that they can actually have a business that is appropriate for what they want to do. So, let me give you a brief outline about what we're going to be talking about today, because we don't have a whole lot of time to go through things, but I want to spend enough time with you so that you understand some of the real basics of what I call the 3 S's. And we're going to be talking about those, which are structure, self-sufficiency, and, of course, scalability. But before we do, I want to take a moment or two and, as I said, just kind of go over for you what it is that I'm attempting to do and what it is that you're going to learn, so that you have an idea of what today is going to be laid out as. So, why would we even need to have somebody like me come in and talk about how to start up businesses? Because there's already a copious amount of consultants, there's bank managers, there's government workers, there's people out there virtually everywhere that are willing to be able to teach people how to get a business up and running. And the problem is, at least in my estimation, is that most of these people, though exceedingly well-meaning, aren't really being very successful at helping people to be able to create the kinds of businesses they want. And that's reflected in the business statistics, or the business failure statistics, which say that almost 80% in the first year of businesses fail. By the time we take that up to 3 to 5 years, almost 90% of the people who have started businesses have failed. And these are people who have written complete business plans. They've really done their research. They've taken a look at what that business is supposed to do, and they believe they are motivated, they have all of the pieces together in order to be able to make that business a success, they believe. These are people who have borrowed money. They have not only just taken their savings, but for the majority of them, they've actually gone out and borrowed money from the bank, and yet they still fail. Over that 5-year period, as I said, up to 90% of the businesses that are started are out of business within 5 years. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not good enough. What I try to do when I teach people how to start businesses, and when I work with people who already have businesses that a lot of times are having problems or are failing, what I attempt to do with them is to teach them what I call the 3 basics, which are the structure of the business, turning the business into something that's self-sufficient for itself so it makes the money, and teaching people how to make that business, how to structure it so that it's scalable. In other words, they can make it as big or as small as they want. What we're going to be doing today, or what I'm going to be doing with you, is I'm going to be talking a little bit about those 3 S's, the structure, self-sufficiency, and scalability. And I'm going to be giving you more information about what those particular words mean and what that means to you as a new business owner. We're also going to explore what I call the 2 great myths. And these are 2 basic myths that are out there. They're being perpetuated by many people who are in the business to help individuals such as yourself who are thinking of starting a business or who already have a business and it's in a little bit of trouble. And these 2 myths really get in the way of you being able to have a business that thrives. We're going to talk a little bit about how these myths hold people back and some of the things that prevent people from starting businesses, because there's a lot more people want to start businesses than actually do. And there's some real good reasons for that, which we'll get into. And I also want to give you an example. We may have time for two, but at least one example of what I mean by creating a business that has structure, self-sufficiency, and scalability, and how that differs from the normal, conventional type of business. But before we get started and we jump into that, I want to tell you a very short story. There was a young farmer. He wasn't actually a farmer when he got started. He was a young fellow, and he wanted to start up a hobby farm. And he moved from the city out to the country. And he'd spent most of his money getting his hobby farm set up, getting the house all refurbished and all this kind of stuff. And he hadn't started with a whole lot, so he wasn't feeling as flush as he could. And it was time for him to get a new animal. So he thought probably getting a cow would be a good start for my hobby farm. He had noticed a farm just down the way, and the farmer there seemed to have a lot of cows, so he thought he'll just hop in his truck, drive down, knock on the door, and see if he could buy a cow. So he did that, knocks on the farmer's door, and an older farmer came to the door. And the young fellow explained his situation and told the farmer that he'd like to have a cow. Now the old farmer said, "Sure, I can sell you a cow. I've got lots and lots of cows in my backyard here, and I can get you a good one for $2,000 or $3,000. Well, the young guy just was totally blown away by this, because he said, "I can't spend $2,000 or $3,000. I don't have it. In fact, what I've got to spend is $100. So the old farmer kind of laughed and said, "$100? Well, I don't know. I do have one cow that I could let go for $100, but she's old and not very healthy, and I don't know if you'd want her." And the young guy said, "Yeah, that's great. I just want to get started. I want to get learning about how to look after livestock and everything, so this would be a great thing." So he peels off $100, hands it to the old farmer, and asks the farmer if he could deliver that cow to him in the coming weekend. So the time goes by, and the young farmer gets things ready at his farm for the cow to arrive. And the weekend comes, and the old farmer comes up to the young guy's door, knocks on the door. The young guy throws open the door and says, "Wow, great, did you bring my cow?" And the old farmer looks at him and says, "Yeah, I did. But we have a problem, because on the way over, the cow died." And the young guy looks out into the farmyard, and there in the back of the pickup truck is the cow laying with its feet sticking straight up in the air, obviously dead. So the old farmer kind of looks at him, and the young farmer looks back, and the young farmer says, "Well, that's okay. Just give me my $100 back, and we'll call it a day." The old farmer looks at him and says, "No. It doesn't work like that. You bought that cow last week. I held it for you at no cost. I drove it over here. The cow is yours. But I'm not going to be a complete nasty person. What I'm going to do is I'm willing to take the dead carcass back to my place, and I'll bury it using my backhoe, so you don't have to worry about it." And the young guy says, "Oh, so the cow is mine." The old farmer says, "That's the way it is." So the young guy says, "No, that's okay. Just take it around to the barn in the back, and I want you to drop him off, and that'll be fine." So the old farmer shakes his head, takes the carcass around to the back, drops it off, and heads off down and out onto the road back to his farmyard. Well, about a month goes by, and there's a knock on the old farmer's door. And he opens up the door, and much to his surprise, here's the young farmer again. And the young guy says, "I'm ready to take one of those $2,000 or $3,000 cows." So the old farmer and the young one go out into the back, and they pick out a cow that would be suitable for the guy. And the old farmer assures him that this is a great cow. It's certainly not going to die on the way over. But as they're walking back to the farmhouse, the old farmer says to the young guy, basic pieces of putting together the structure that would allow her business to succeed, using her strengths rather than her weaknesses. And she told me that what she thought was going to make her business a success, why she thought that she could do it, was that she was a great saleswoman. She said that I'm pretty, I can go out there, I can flirt, I can, bat my eyelashes, and guys will buy from me. I can sell. And most of the people who have desktop publishing businesses, I've done my research, they're all kind of nerdy guys, and they don't want to go out into the public. They don't want to sell. They don't want to talk to people. They want to stay at home in front of their computers. But I know I can sell. So if I could just get some desktop publishing stuff going, I could go out and I could sell twice as much as them. And I said, that's great. We're going to work on a new structure for you. So if you are willing to take my suggestions of this new structure, then what we can do is we can use those 3 S's. We can change the structure of your business so you can get started right away. We can do it without you having to spend a bunch of money, probably less than $500. We can make your business self-sufficient right away, and we can make it scalable so you can make as much as you want, as fast as you want, or as slow as you want. And she said, yeah, that sounds just great. So what we did is we sat down and we worked with her for a little bit, and we created some contracts, some agreements. And what she was to do was to go out to 4 of the other desktop publishing people in the community, excuse me, and she was to sign an agreement with them that they would become subcontractors for her. This is a structure, by the way, that I call middling. And they would become her subcontractors. In other words, she would get clients, they would be her clients, she wouldn't be just a salesperson for them. She would get clients, and she would bring them to that desktop publishing company, and they would do the work for a discount because they're doing it wholesale. They're acting like a subcontractor. And the difference between their discount and what the customer was paying becomes her profit. And her profitability, of course, in the business. So we worked out the agreement, and being a good salesperson, she went out and she was able to get 4 desktop publishers to go along with this right away. They thought, yeah, that was a great idea. If you're going to go out and sell people, we don't have to pay advertising, we don't have to put ads in the paper, we don't have to put radio ads on, and we get people coming in. So yeah, we can lower our cost. So they did that. And she was able, as I said, to sign up 4 people within the first couple of days. She came back, and we then helped her to design a brochure. And it probably took us a week to a week and a half to get all of that together. And by the time she had finished, her cost into her business was approximately $75 to $100 based on the photocopying that she had to do, putting gas into her car, driving to the different places. So putting all of those expenses in, she had only spent approximately $75 to $100. Once she had that all together, she had her brochures, the next step was to go out for her and start selling her desktop publishing business. Now you have to remember that if she got the $20,000 and had the building, had all of the pieces of infrastructure, had the computers, she would still have to go out and sell it. Then she'd have to come back and do all the work. She'd have to do all the accounting, all of these other things. What we had her doing was just going out and doing the selling. Well, to make a long story short, what happened was she was as good as her word. She went out and she started doing a fantastic job of selling her concept of the desktop publishing, her ideas, all of this kind of thing. And she then took it back to the subcontractors, gave them instructions on how the job was supposed to be done, and they did the job. Now, within about a month and a half, she was able to fill up 2 of the desktop publishers. Now remember, if she had had her own business structured the way that she was going to start it, what would have happened is she would have only been able to do half as many clients at that point in time. In fact, less than that, because she would have had to be out of the office selling, she would have had to be doing all kinds of things, as well as the desktop publishing. She could actually funnel all of the work she was able to get to the other 2 desktop publishers. Within another couple of months, she was able to fill up the other 2 desktop publishers. That meant that she was now at a stage where she had 4 times as many clients as she would have been able to handle had she been doing it on her own. And of course, if she wanted to scale up the number of clients that she could have, then all she would have to do is two very simple things. Get contracts with more desktop publishers and hire some other salespeople, which is exactly what she did. She moved to a larger center, took her entire idea about how the whole thing worked. She hired some more salespeople, some sales girls. She taught them exactly what it was that she did, how she did it, how well it worked, all of that. And she got more desktop publishers signed up on her agreement. And the last time that I was talking to her, she was making somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $10,000 profit into her pocket every single month. And she was doing almost none of the work. Her work day consisted of getting up in the morning and spending a couple or 3 hours on the telephone to her sales crew, finding out exactly what went on, talking to a manager that she had hired to make sure that all of the subcontracting was being done the way it was supposed to, and then she would go out and spend the rest of the day sitting by her pool. That was truly an example of using the correct structure to create immediate self-sufficiency and immediate scalability so that that person could create for themselves a really exciting and powerful business that just moved right ahead. By having that right structure, she avoided having all of the infrastructure payments that she would have had if she'd rented or bought a place. She avoided having to do all of the work of sitting down and doing all the desktop publishing, which would have limited to the number of hours she could put in, how much work she could do. It allowed her to scale the business to any size that she wanted to, again, something that would have been impossible had she started the business using a conventional method. So it met all three of the major S's. By creating the right structure that fit for her, it allowed her business to immediately become self-sufficient, and it immediately allowed the business to be scalable, if she so desired, to any size that she wanted. If she wanted to, she could operate using that same structure, having people in 25 different cities. She could have 100 cities. Or she could bring it right back down to where she's running it from her kitchen table and she's just got a couple of desktop publishers and she's doing the sales herself. It's totally scalable in either direction. So I hope that this has given you an idea of the different kind of structure. Now, of course, I should mention that this particular structure fit for her because of the way she was, what her strengths were. There's hundreds of different structures, and there's 4 major structures that I personally use that have derivatives that allow us to be able to do virtually anything with anyone. The trick is, though, talking to someone who can help you create the kind of structure that's best for your business. So whether your business is having problems and needs to be restructured, or whether you're in that lucky position of just getting ready to start that business, please get in touch with us. Give us a phone call. I do consulting over the telephone, and I also work in person, and sometimes over the internet as well. So if this interests you, if you would like to learn more about how to structure your particular business and business idea so that it has the right structure to make it self-sufficient and to make it scalable, then please get in touch with us. Now, I notice I'm getting the sign that I'm all out of time here, so I want to thank all of you for coming. Thank you very, very much. And for any of you watching at home, again, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to actually listen to the program, and I hope you've learned something. All the best. My name is Justice Chase, the Home Business Whisperer, and have a wonderful day.
Subscribe now by just clicking the above subscribe button.